See you. Hi, Michaela's here.
Michaela, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
We sure can.
Okay, great. Sorry, everyone, that I can't be in the room. My dog is sick and I have to take him to an emergency vet appointment.
Seeing Michaela, another dial-in number, and Laura McCluskey dialed in, and we've got 4 members here in person. So, and Mia, I think we have to speak into the mic, or else, yeah.
Got it. So, welcome to the, what's the date today? July 23rd, 2025 meeting of the Provincetown Harbor Committee. In accordance with Chapter 2 of the Acts of
Mia, you cut out.
Me now.
Hello?
Michaela, can you hear Mia, or can you just hear me?
I can just hear you.
My mic is
So close.
on.
I can hear Mia coming in and out. I can't hear Mia at all.
Mia, if you can hear me consistently from this microphone, maybe we have the people who speak come
Yeah,
to this
I can.
microphone. Yeah. Just get started with this microphone.
All right. So,
Now I can hear you.
you can hear me. All right, so
Yes.
let's just start with attendance.
Mia, you're going out again. Are you pressing the button on the mic?
Laura,
Here,
can you hear me when I speak?
sometimes I
can,
can,
yes.
sometimes I can't. Now you're coming through.
Weird. All right. So online we have Michaela Murphy and Laura McCluskey. That's it.
Here.
All right. So should we start with public comment with anything not on the agenda or just public comment in general, Pete? Okay. So we'll start with public comment and we'll start with people in the room. If anyone has public comment. Yeah, come on up to the mic. Hi.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry, I won't be able to make eye contact because I'm going to be reading. Hi, Pete. Good afternoon, members of the Harbor Committee, and thank you for volunteering your time to help us oversee all things harbor related. And my name's Kiki Harold. I'm a West End resident for over 40 years. And I'm here to voice my concern about repeatedly seeing the Dolphin Whale Watch boat moving about in the harbor. It's very jarring to see a boat of such size within Long Point. Its massive size is so disproportionate to the surroundings.
That's the same thing. It's easier to
Well, I have a little couple of edits, but thank you so much. The harbor within Long Point is a treasured sanctuary of the community that needs to be protected. This area is a peaceful refuge for kayakers, paddleboarders, small and large sailboats, as well as a few houseboats. There are motorized vessels as well that are respectful of this haven, such as the Long Point Shuttle, the CJ, the Viking Princess, and countless recreational and private fishing boats and smaller Boston whalers and pontoons. The size of the Dolphin Whale Watch boat is a whole different league of boat. This was particularly striking to me in a recent sail on the Bay Lady with my extended family, something we've done every year in July for 3 decades. And this year, everyone was shocked to see the Dolphin Whale Watch boat within the harbor sanctuary. The presence of this massive motorized boat detracted from this blissful and scenic harbor setting. There was amplified music coming from the Whale Watch boat that further disrupted this otherwise peaceful ambiance. And for a time, the dolphin boat was barely moving and it was hugging the shoreline, completely obstructing our view. My family and I have also enjoyed dozens of whale watches aboard the Dolphin Fleet over the years, and I have absolutely nothing against the Dolphin Fleet wanting to grow their business and have a booze cruise or amplified music. I just don't think it belongs within the harbor. I have 25 years of experience doing special events in this harbor with the Provincetown 2, and for 15 years I produced the annual pier dance on McMillan Pier in July. And based on my expertise and experience, based on my experience, I'd like to offer some solutions. When the Provincetown 2 is boarding our guests, we keep the music down to a lower lounge-like level. The music only gets turned up once we have passed Long Point and left the harbor for a 3-hour sail. The same is true in reverse. For the return, the music drops down again once we are back and nearing the breakwater in Long Point. But these events on the Provincetown 2 only happen a few times a summer. They are not daily. If the Dolphin wants to do these kinds of events daily or regularly, because of the frequency, you could eliminate amplified music completely at boarding and only allow for music once they have left the harbor perimeter. For commercial boats, smaller commercial boats that are already having a business in the harbor, you could offer some kind of grandfather clause for like the CJ or the Viking Princess. When I produced the pier dance as a once-a-year special event, each time I had to go before licensing to get a special noise violation waiver for the 4 hours of the event. You could go the same route with the Dolphin, and maybe a few times a season they could apply for a special permit to have music while boarding too. As with the Provincetown 2, you could still restrict the volume until they are outside the harbor perimeter. I understand the harbor is a shared resource and we each enjoy it in different ways. However, we should make sure the ways we enjoy it don't conflict with each other. I respect that the harbor provides for economic opportunity. At the same time, we know there are ways to ensure there are no unintended consequences. I would very much appreciate that the Harbor Committee consider the balances of uses to ensure that what is supposed to be our right to quiet enjoyment of the harbor is not overtaken by commercial gain. There needs to be consideration for people in the community who see the harbor bay as a sanctuary. On land, we have the Historic Commission that protects the historic buildings and historic nature of our town, zoning to address the scale of a new building in an existing neighborhood, and licensing to address noise and sound decibels. We need some kind of parallel guidelines for protecting the sanctitude, scale of vessels, and quiet of the harbor. I live in the West End, but this is an inner harbor issue from the P-Town Inn all the way to Snail Road. In summary, I ask, can we please create some parameters to address all this? How can we regulate larger vessels around Long Point and within the harbor? Size and capacity should be enough to justify them needing to be outside of the harbor. Large commercial sailboats with a capacity for 45 people in the harbor are not the same as any large commercialized motorized boat that have a capacity for 2 to 3 times that, and in the case of the Dolphin boat, much, much more. We can use the examples of what already exists for motorized vessels, such as the CJ or the Viking Princess, to help guide us in what is an appropriate capacity cap for commercial motorized boats within the harbor. On a personal note, I've never been concerned about my teenage daughter's safety when she sails out to Long Point on her Sunfish. She grew up learning to sail at the West End Racing Club, and during the pandemic, we got her own used Sunfish from Flyers as the club was shut down that year. Since she's become an excellent sailor, but the idea of her sailing her tiny Sunfish anywhere near a moving motorized boat the size of the Dolphin is very unnerving and frightening. Thank you all for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you for the printout.
Anyone else? Would you like to make a public comment? Come on up.
My name is Josh Rowan. I guess I'm a summer resident here. I'm the definition of a wash ashore. We sail in here every June and sail out every October. I run a boat that's been operating off McMillan Pier for 79 years this year, and she's celebrating 100 years. It is probably the most expensive boat on McMillan, next to maybe the 11, to operate and to continue to be here in this harbor. The cost and modern day labor, one of the board members knows how much labor it takes to keep a wooden vessel in operating in good order. The thing I'd like to bring up is these boats are going to go away if regulations aren't made in the harbor. So this season, we went from 91 seats for day sails and sunset sails to a bomb drop of 250 more seats that were dropped into an arena that we already had lots of vacancy in. There was no advertising, there was no anything to bring more people for this activity. And then they undercut everybody by 60% because they have the capacity to do so. Back when the pier and the harbor was, the pier and the Pier Corps and the harbor worked together to come up with some rules about the pier. They wanted to prevent monopolies. They talked about one float per company. So it'd be 10 different floats, and there wouldn't be the horsepower or the ability for any one company to basically push out other companies by the means of finances. So if you guys want to see sailboats, especially wooden sailboats sailing around, something needs to be done to make sure that the playing field is fair. We can't sell our trip for 60% less. We operate under 7% margins. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me. I'm the minutes taker. Can I just take it? Yeah, thank you.
Is there anyone else in the room who would like to make a public comment?
Thank you.
Doing everyone. Paul Milliken, I'm general manager of the Dolphin Fleet, family business. My dad owns the company. My grandfather, Al Avalar, founded the company the start 50th year of whale watching. He actually owned Hindu.
Paul, can you just speak into the mic a little more? For
Yeah,
everyone online.
I just, I feel obligated to go through the sort of history of how we ended up doing harbor cruises in the first place here. Obviously, it's not something that we've done in the past. But I know that, you know, some people on the pier have been trying to generate opposition to us. And now I feel like I have to sort of give the reasoning that we decided to do these trips. So the Dolphin 8, which is our oldest boat, it's a boat that we just had to repower because it doesn't have the speed to do modern day whale watching. The Dolphin 8 went down during COVID, at the beginning of COVID. We haven't brought it back until this year. It's been down the whole time for a couple of different reasons, but the most of which is that COVID happened and obviously tourism dropped in Provincetown drastically. So for the past 6 years, we haven't had the need to have that boat up here. It's just been collecting dust and getting rusty and basically wasting away in the shipyard in Fairhaven. We had to figure out something to do with the boat, the fourth boat. We don't have the passengers for it anymore. This isn't like the mid 2000s when our boats were full every day. COVID obviously negatively impacted tourism all over the town. We're no exception. So we tried to come up with sort of unique ways to use the boat. We can't really sell it. You can't get a 300 passenger boat off the shelf for less than $12 or so million, which is obviously totally out of the question for a business like ours. So we did a little brainstorming over the winter to see sort of what, based on the feedback that we're getting from our pastures, would be a viable option, and what, what are other sort of ecotourism excursions that are offered around the state and around New England. So we decided to look into the harbor cruises. It sounds like probably a lot of the people that wrote in here haven't actually looked at what we're offering on these harbor cruises. So these are 90-minute excursions. We partnered up with a couple local historians, Lisa King and Dennis Minsky, to put together a program for these trips. They're a guided, narrated tour, basically, that goes through the history of Provincetown, touches on the landmarks of Provincetown, touches on the natural history, ecology, landing of the pilgrims, et cetera, all of the sort of like natural cultural history of the town by two highly regarded local historians. We decided that that was something that's not otherwise offered here on the water. Our boats provide an interesting vantage point for tourists to come have that history explained to them from the vantage point of the boat, guided by experienced guides. So just as an aside, as I back up here talking about the impacts of COVID, when we came out of COVID, like the world that the Dolphin 8 is coming back into here is different than the world that it left. The pier fees over that time for our company have doubled, almost more than doubled. We are hit with pier fees that don't apply to any other operation on the pier. They are specifically targeted at our boats, which are over 50 passenger boats. When we came back from COVID with the Dolphin 8, we're now subject to hundreds of thousands of dollars more fees than we had to pay in the past. We have to figure out a way to generate revenue. We can't fill the boats with whale watch passengers anymore. Not all 4 of them. There's not enough people in town. So what we did in this case with the harbor tours is we looked around the New England area and the state to see what similarly situated tours cost. It's right where we landed. $35 a ticket for the harbor cruise, $40 for the sunset music cruise. Basically is in line with every other port in New England. No different, no higher, no less. We cannot offer these trips at the same price as a 100-year-old wooden schooner. We don't have the luxury. We don't have the draw that they have. We, of course, have been passing our passengers down to Hindu literally since the company started because we have a similar lineage, but we can't charge more for a 90-minute harbor cruise than we charge for a whale watch. It just doesn't make any sense. And the feedback that we've been getting from our passengers for the past couple of years, or potential passengers, was basically, I can't afford a whale watch and it's too long. So this is just providing another option of the pier that doesn't exist. A shorter trip, guided, a narration of the history of the town around a beautiful natural harbor. I should add that while we're having these cruises, we have literally made a point to promote local businesses, the National Seashore, restaurants, other operations on the pier, for the specific purpose of not undercutting other pier tenants. I just want to additionally comment on some of the things that are written here on the input that's been submitted to the board. I think it's almost disrespectful to say that our boats operating in the harbor is unsafe or dangerous to anybody. If anybody knows our captains, we have, Johnny Bass, Todd Mata, Mark Jalumba, Dennis Waite. These are some of the most experienced fishing captains on Cape Cod and in New England in general. Todd Mata has been a fishing boat captain since he was 19 years old. Nobody is unsafe when they're around a boat that's being handled by our captains, no more than any other boat that's in the harbor. I think the noise issue, I think it's worth sort of just stating that what we're talking about here is a matter of preference. This is not a matter of law. It's not a matter of regulation. It's that there are people who don't like that we're adding these trips to the harbor. And I understand that. You don't have to like what we're doing, and that's fine. But we're doing what we feel like we have to do in order to keep our business running. And we decided to provide this option to tourists that did not otherwise exist. As far as the competition aspect, again, we can't compete with Hindu, we can't compete with Bloodhound, we can't compete with Bay Lady. If I was in another port, I would choose those trips over the one that we offer. I'll be honest with you. It's quiet. It's under sail. It's an old classic boat. We don't have that. We can't offer it. We can only offer what we have. And as far as the monopolies go, the one float per company, that's hardly worth even discussing. It's in the Chapter 91 license. Who's grandfathered in to own the float spaces? The same corporations own the float spaces that have since the Chapter 91 was adopted in the year 2000. It's already gone through the Board of Selectmen. Those corporations still own the float spaces. That's just, again, not even really worth bringing up. But I mean, just in closing, I understand why people would look at what we're doing and not like it. And again, that's fine. We make our own business decisions, just like other peer tenants made their business decisions. But this really is a matter of preference. Nothing that we're doing is illegal. If you don't like it, I get it. But again, we're just doing what we have to do to keep our business running. We're trying to offer a different opportunity for tourists that come to Provincetown. So thanks a lot for the time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the room who would like to make a public comment? Nope. Is there anyone online who would like to make a public comment? You can, if you called in, you can unmute yourself, or if you're on Teams, you can raise your hand. I think so.
I would like to say something if.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm connected to this in a few different ways. I do work on the pier, and I will say in regards to the noise, it is very jarring during the setup because the music is not just happening in the harbor. It is on the pier for sound check. And I get questions about what's actually happening because it's an overwhelming noise for like a good 20 minutes every single evening. As someone who lives on their boat, what I appreciate most about living on my boat is the serenity that's out there. You don't tend to get that anywhere in Provincetown. Sound travels very far over water, and pretty much now I can hear the music from the boat, even when they are far away. And this isn't, I guess I would say from like I mean, it's not pleasant, but I would say the beauty of being out there, and I'm sure Maria agrees, is that we get whales and we get seals and we get all this wildlife that's around us very closely because we are such a protected, quiet space out there. And it is
Jen, sorry to interrupt you. If you're going to make a public comment, you need to step off and go over there because it's inappropriate for a board member to speak as a
okay. I can speak over. Yeah. Okay. All right, Michaela. Yeah, it's just very jarring, and I think that we will start seeing that the wildlife is not out there if we continually have the noise problems and the larger vessels. It's one thing, I think, to have them running through what is the main fairway to get out around the bay and to go and do the dolphin tours, but having them directly in the area where people are swimming and kayaking and kind of that respite from the chaos of town is not really the Provincetown that I thought, was there. So yes, that's, yeah. And I am also very concerned about the fact that I understand that your prices are not, or the prices of the dolphin fleet are going to be lower. My concern is just the same as having chains in Provincetown. If we do that, we are having the small businesses go away. And I also do not want be in a Provincetown where we don't have the sailboats and the fishing boats and all of the things that make Provincetown unique. So thank you.
Noah, you should be able to do *6 to unmute now if you want to give that a try.
Noah Santos, Flyers Boat Rental.
Yep, we hear you.
Okay, I just want a public comment to say that we do offer a sealed harbor tour, and it was undercut by $10 a ride. It's a small operation, but judging by the numbers this year, we're probably not going to be doing it again because of what has happened this year. So that's all I got to say. Thank you very much.
All right. Is there anyone else online who would like to make a public comment? All right. So I guess we can, most likely, I'm assuming there are board members who want to respond to this. So we'll do that before resuming the regular agenda. Michaela, did you want to say something?
Yes, I'm sorry I'm not there in person. As I said, my dog is sick, so I have to take him to the vet. I just want
you got,
to,
Harry?
Noah, if you just want to mute yourself. So I just want to be very clear about the Harbor Committee is an advisory board to the Select Board. We are not a regulatory board. We do not, this is not something that we can regulate. This is something the Select Board, if they wanted to, could choose, and you can go to public comments. The history of Provincetown Harbor is that it's the second deepest natural harbor in the world. There's always been a number of size vessels. That's not something for us to regulate. If there is noise issues, that's something that people can bring up with licensing. It is not the position or the purview of this board to regulate prices that people charge or don't charge, or how they operate with their businesses. Provincetown is a seasonal community, and there's hundreds of restaurants in town, and every time another business opens, people complain about it's going to take their business away or undercut them. That is not something that we are going to discuss on this board. I'm sorry if that is upsetting for people. There are other regulatory boards that you can bring these issues up with. I hope that everyone feels like they've had the opportunity to be heard, but this is not something that is in the purview of this board, and I don't think that we should be taking any more time while we do have some other agenda items to get through.
Thank you, Michaela. And yeah, I'll just echo what Michaela said, and that we are an advisory board. If anything that's happening is either violating a town bylaw or one of our harbor regs, it would be up to either harbor staff or town staff or potentially other regulatory boards to do something about it. But if anything like that were to happen, they would be able to reference this meeting to see your comments. So I hope everyone is okay with, at least they were able to be heard. Yep, and he's right here to hear your comments. So if he finds that anything they're doing is going against the harbor regs, then he can do something about it. But just in terms of us as a board, we can't really do anything, especially when it comes to private businesses and their pricing. That's definitely out of our purview as a board. All right, so next on the agenda, we have to vote to authorize spending from the Harbor Access Fund to support additional work for McMillan Pier feasibility study. Michaela, did you want to make the motion for this, or does anyone on the committee have any comments about it? Go ahead, Michaela.
If there's no comments, I make a motion that the Harbor Committee vote to approve the transfer from the Harbor Access Gift Fund in the amount of up to $30,000 for the purpose of supporting the McMillan Pier feasibility study. And so this motion will propose this to the Select Board to authorize that amount. Is there a second?
Marty, second.
All right, so I'll take a vote starting with people in the room. Marty?
Yes.
Jennifer? Maria? Yes. Michaela?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
And Mia, yes. All right. So next on the agenda, we have the Harbor Master report.
Thank you, Mia. I'm going to put some information on the screen. Give me 1 second. Okay, so in today's report, we're going to talk about harbor activity, vessel status, the dinghy dock, and additional buoyage and signage that the harbor is installing. So for vessel status, noteworthy update, M7, our 16-foot aluminum jumboat, has been returned to full working condition and installed at the West End kayak rack. Here's a photo on screen of it here in front of the Coyote Kayaks area. As I understand it, being new this year, but from discussions with people who know why this boat was purchased originally, it was always kind of intended to be a shallow water rescue boat to serve this and other areas that may need it. Behind the breakwater is certainly the largest and shallowest part of the harbor that we can't get an existing boat into, since we can't cross over the breakwater easily, obviously. M7 had been stationed on the pier for years, it seems, and had not been used. But an incident on July 4th itself, when a paddleboarder became kind of marooned at high tide on the marsh side, not on the breakwater itself, but significantly off the breakwater, reminded us all why the boat had been purchased. And so the engine was found to be not working, and thanks to great partnership with the fire department, they contributed the funds to buy a new engine for the boat and get it restored to working condition. And so now either harbor master staff or EMT fire rescue personnel, we are cross-training everybody on using the boat. And so it can be hand launched by 4 people and put in there so that we can access easily, the whole length of the breakwater with this boat that can float in as little as a couple inches of water, as well as the whole marsh behind there. So when you see it out there, give it a wave. Dinghy dock update. So our ongoing efforts in prop protection are largely working. We are really enjoying the diversity of prop protection methods people are employing. And I think Lands End Marine is doing a really brisk business in red buckets. Some buckets are too small for the props they're fitted to. We contact the owners and encourage them to buy a correct bucket because the bucket itself doesn't do anything if sharp pieces of the prop or skeg are still projecting. Prop protection sometimes falls off. If we can easily reinstall it, we do. If we can't, we lower the engine and contact the owner. And some folks who don't have prop protection fitted, their engines just get lowered and they get contacted. So any other feedback from board members on how that's going? It is our pleasure, and I am really enjoying, again, how creative people are getting. I think the best one is the insulated cooler bag that you bring home from the grocery store. That's a great one. It's squishy but deformable. Yeah, I think that's the best one yet. Other updates. This is happening on all of the floating docks. We did the dinghy dock first. Essentially, ladders have been fitted to enable self-rescue of folks who fall in. As an aside, the kids who like to jump off the pier, right where it says no jumping, they seem to love it too. Permanent signs that echo the parking rules about 16 feet this way, and all those signs. We have those sort of paper laminated signs that are, of course, the weather's had their way with them, but we do have permanent signs that just arrived, and we'll be installing them, and they are typical street sign grade, so they will last forever, essentially, or at least 20 years. And it was brought up earlier this year that it'd be nice to have more flexible fee schedules for folks buying dinghy dock permits, because currently you can get up to 4 hours for free, but if you want 4 hours and 1 minute, that's $450, which is a flat rate for the year. And we have experimented successfully there are existing pier fee regulations that enable us to rent transient space to small floating recreational vessels at $4 a foot a day. And a couple customers of the dinghy dock bought a permit for 1, 2, or 3 days for their 10-foot dinghy. So because they wanted to stay for that long. And so we've actually been able to use the existing regs after we dug them up to meet some of those needs. I know that was a conversation earlier in the year. So we're not, it's not huge revenue, but it's nice to offer that to folks who need it. And now let's talk about buoys and signage for boating safety. Quick review here of the existing harbor regulations and the zones of the harbor they there set out, as well as some relevant local bylaws. So Provincetown Harbor is defined as the place from Long Point to the Truro border, which is this spot right here. The town line is Roosevelt Road here, but where it intersects the harbor shore is there. That's technically inside Provincetown Harbor. Now the borders of the town of Provincetown extend 3 miles out in all directions, but the harbor regs specifically regulate harbor activity. So the harbor master, and our staff can enforce town bylaws and regs anywhere within 3 miles of Provincetown's shores, but most of the regs and the zones herein are confined to the harbor. There is a no wake zone, alternately called a no wake zone or a restricted zone, defined as the Provincetown Inn steps, or Provincetown Inn, breakwater, the southernmost part of the breakwater, at the Provincetown Inn all the way to the Inner Harbor Breakwater. And then in the east end, it's from the east end of the breakwater to the steps at the Ice House condominium. And then from there, it is within 1,000 feet of the shoreline, all the way to the Truro border. So you'll see this red area extending east here, all the way to the Truro border. And this blue line is just showing you what 1,000 feet looks like from the shoreline. And that's drawing it so from this Google Maps image. But all this red area is essentially a no wake zone, but we also define it as 5 miles an hour or headway speed only, whichever is faster. So headway speed is the slowest speed a boat can go and still safely steer. So if you can go 4 miles an hour and steer, you can go 5 because 5 miles an hour is faster than 4. If you need 6 miles an hour to safely steer your boat, you can go that speed. The yellow area is defined as that's the unrestricted zone. It is it's the inland waters of Provincetown Harbor. State regulations provide prima facie evidence that any boat going over 45 miles an hour in inland waters could be operating negligently. So that forms kind of a soft speed limit on that part of the harbor, but otherwise it is up to the discretion of the enforcing officer what negligent operation looks like. Low visibility, for example, could make that determination quite different. So not unlike police officers enforcing speed on the road, they can, if conditions are bad, they can write you a ticket if you're driving too fast, despite the fact that you're not exceeding the posted speed limit. You must always operate safely. Finally, the red areas I've outlined here. There's a square here in the west end and a square in the east end. These demark the shellfish grant areas. And I want to make an important note about what the permits that are issued by the federal and state governments for these grants indicate. You can do shellfish farming there, but you cannot impede navigation. So the permits just specifically prevent permit holders from trying to, or in any way impeding boats from lawfully navigating in those areas. And so we worked with the members of the Shellfish Committee to install the correct type of buoys around them to better warn boaters about the presence of floating and sunken hazards in these areas. And that is we've installed 4 hazard buoys around the West End grant and are exploring installing buoys around the East End grant as well. Finally, the regs further define no wake within the mooring or anchorage fields. Now these fields, grow and perhaps contract as mooring and anchoring behavior changes. And so for this year, we've marked where the outer end of the currently installed moorings is in the west end, the private moorings as well as the Flyers extra large mooring field that extends out there. And we've found some locations to install some additional no wake buoys to help better define that edge of the field, as we've seen a lot of vessels not understanding that they should be going more slowly in those areas. And finally, to better demarc this 1,000-foot buffer from the shoreline in the east end, we're going to survey at low water what that 1,000-foot buffer means, because that buffer's there for the safety of swimmers and other shallow water users. So we're going to put buoys at that limit from the shoreline at low water in the next couple weeks. Finally, just a note about jet ski regulations. Jet skis are banned from any part of the harbor that's currently in yellow on the screen. They're banned from that unrestricted zone. Jet skis may transit in the federal channel, which is this blue line, at lawful speeds, again, 45 miles an hour. And then they must go directly to the marina, dock, or fuel or yacht that they're visiting in the red zone. So they're not allowed to sort of transit up and down in the red zone. They may go directly to wherever they're going, but they are allowed in the harbor and under those operating restrictions. That is the only class of vessel that is restricted by vessel type in terms of where it may operate. Should we take questions from the? It's Mia's meeting. I'm open to take questions. Mia, here you go.
Yeah, but just keep it under 3 minutes because that's what we were supposed to at the start, which we definitely didn't. But
It's just about dinghies.
here, come just so they can hear you online.
Sorry. Just the question is based on dinghies, because I know there's a lot of people that live aboard out there in the mooring field, and typical dinghies at no wake or 5 miles an hour and anything more than 10 knot winds are not really safe or dry, and they need to be able to either be on a soft plane or get up out of displacement mode just because of their sheer size. And is there something in the regs that allows people that are out there to be able to do that? And obviously they're not going to be going 6 miles an hour or less. So that was my question.
Certainly. There's nothing in the regs that addresses that condition. However, the harbor master staff are happy to apply discretion, and we're mostly there to make sure that people aren't doing things that appear to us to be dangerous or unsafe, especially to other harbor users. And I can imagine us seeing a condition like that, and if we do want to contact the person or approach the dinghy operator, we would accept that explanation as perfectly reasonable. Yep. We've not we've only cited people who are sort of repeat offenders, who are posing sort of obvious public safety issues. There are some folks who bought fast boats and like to go fast, and there's a place for that. Any questions or concerns? One thing I would love to hear committee feedback on is as far as I can tell, there have not been no wake buoys installed, indicating the length of the no wake zone as it extends all the way to the Truro border. And many East End residents have approached me with a wish for sort of greater motorboat safety awareness out in the East End, and so we're very happy to put the buoys there. They will be visible. They're white. They stand about 40 inches off of the water surface. They have like a little white tower that they say no wake on them. We've seen these things. We're happy to install a number of them and also reach out to the community to make sure that we're not over-signing the harbor. And if we do, we can always pull them back because they're easy to move. So just any thoughts that you have on that or approach you think would be good to engage the community out there. And hearing none, we'll put them out there. And when I hear complaints, I'll talk about it. But
We need some in the East End, especially if people in the East End are asking for them, because basically anything you just slightly east of the pier, it's kind of, there are no visible regulations. So I think that would be very helpful in general.
excellent. And we're putting together sort of pamphlets and emails and websites that can explain all this stuff too. So it's not just the buoys, but helpful to have that feedback. That is the end of my report.
All right.
Pete, I think also having QR codes at various town landings, the West End Boat Launch, Johnson Street, just on safety regulations or the link to the website, so people have access to it at all times.
Yep, happy to do that. One thing we're going to explore is partnering with boat rental businesses in town with like either a handout or a pamphlet or a laminated card or a QR code or something so that they can easily leave it on their vessels and make it a highly visual reference for their operators so that their operators aren't confused about the regulations in the harbor.
All right. So moving on, one thing I just wanted to make sure of, we did also receive some letters as public comment. So I just want to make sure that those will go into the minutes because did you have access to all the letters? Okay. Just because.
Thank you.
All right. Next item is discuss potential agenda items for upcoming meetings. Is there anyone on the board who has something they want on our next agenda? Oh. All right. Michaela, Laura, all good?
No, I think we're good. Do we want to have a discussion about our next meeting timeframe? Do we want to meet in August? Are people too busy? We can also leave it on and then cancel it if we don't have anything new.
Yeah.
Or maybe have one right before the swim for life.
Yeah, that's fine with me. So we plan for end of August, start of September. What is it currently? Here, Pete's looking what it's currently scheduled for. No. Okay. Please hold.
Someone did tell me today.
Should we do 2 weeks out? Yeah. Yeah. How about we do, instead of August 13th, how about we do August 27th? because that would leave enough time before Swim for Life.
Great. I think that's good. I don't think we need a motion for that.
No.
Uh,
All right. Is there any other? No, it's the week after. Is there any other business?
Somebody said to me today somebody told me today that they had to move an unpermitted kayak out of their permitted kayak spot. And they asked if they were ever checked, if the kayak racks. And I said, I think they do check them.
We check the kayak racks on demand currently, and are happy to act if someone's got a kayak parking in their spot. And perhaps we should put better signage on the racks themselves to make it really easy to get in touch with the office, like
Yeah.
the phone number, an email, a QR code could link us to, you know. We actually we have an office text line now where you can text the number and it gets turned into an email that we all see. And then if we reply back, it comes as a text to you. So it like lets you choose the mode of communication that you want with the harbor master's office. And so we can make signs and put them on the racks and say, hey, if you see something, say something, here's the number.
Yeah.
Would that work?
Very cool. Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, she just moved it, but she was like, what happens? Yeah, were you supposed to? I was like,
Yeah.
sounds like just moving it's good.
We have observed and through contact from people that if unpermitted kayaks end up in racks, they get caught pretty quickly and brought to our attention. We've pulled them off before, certainly. Yeah. And so a sign would probably help encourage people because we'll like rather than just moving the unpermitted kayak off the rack and putting it somewhere else, we would come and pound the kayak and then get to meet the owner probably. So we're happy to do that anytime.
No, that they can't.
Yeah, I think some friendly signs would help with everyone, and it probably would deter putting kayaks there in the first place if the sign was clear about the consequences.
All right. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I will make a motion to adjourn.
All right, Maria makes a motion. Second?
Second.
All right, motion by Maria, second by Jennifer. I'll go online first. Laura,
yes.
Michaela,
Yes.
all right, Marty,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Maria,
Yes.
and Mia, yes. All right. That's a wrap.